Hey guys, before we get into this episode of Comic Book Savant Spinnerack Bros, I wanted to make an amendment to the episode. Somewhere towards the end of the episode, we talk about James Gunn and we make reference if he would ever come back to Marvel to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And literally a couple of hours after we recorded this, they announced that they rehired James Gunn back to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So we wanted to just put this little amendment at the beginning of the episode to let you guys know that it literally happened after we had finished recording the episode, maybe 2 hours later. So just a small amendment before we get into the episode, and I will get out of your hair and you'll hear the regular recorded episode from this point on. You guys take care. Talk to you soon. Bye. Welcome back to Comic Book Savant, episode 419. Also, episode, if I have my math correct, episode number 8 of Spinnerack Bros. We have Heath on the line with me today, and we decided we're going to do something a little bit different. After coming out of Captain Marvel, we decided that we would speculate on the future of the MCU. So, how are you doing today, Heath?
Doing good, man. How you doing? Hashtag SRB.
Yes, sir. So we both had a chance to go out and see Captain Marvel. We've both done our individual reviews. You've done a great review with you and Bree on Serial at Midnight on YouTube, so you guys can go over there and check it out. And of course, I've done my spoiler review on the podcast, and I've done a non-spoiler review on the on my YouTube channel over at youtube.com, Comic Book Savant. So we both have put our thoughts out there, spoiler and non-spoiler, or spoiler-ish, because you didn't really go too heavy into spoilers at all. You kept it pretty clean on you and Bree's review,
Right.
for the most part. Now, and we had slightly differing opinions. I think I liked it a little bit more than you two guys did. I gave it a little bit higher. Well, you didn't really give it an official rating, but what were your?
I'll tell you what, though. So I'll give it an official rating right now. I give it to Bree. And by the way, this is my wife, Bree, not Brie Larson.
Yes. We got to specify that because they do have that in common. The whole Bree.
Yeah. Just for those who don't know, I do not have a YouTube channel that I share with Brie Larson yet. So my wife's name is Bree. What?
It's in the works.
It's, you know what? Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? But I give it like a 6 to a 6.5, and Bree gives it a 7. She liked it a little bit more than I did. But again, like a 6.5. I'll go with 6.5. That's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's not like you hated the movie. For me, I gave it an 8.5. And I felt, and it was weird because I said in my review, most of the time I kind of hash it out after I get from the movie, but as soon as I saw the end credit screens and everything, that was the score that just flashed in my head, for me. But I guess it's a little bit different because I'm a big fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. A lot of different Easter eggs and things that were set up, technology and things that were used have been heavily used through the different seasons of Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And the Kree have been heavily featured on that television show. So it kind of fits in. It was and partly because I do like Brie Larson as the character of Captain Marvel, more so than I thought going in. I liked her way more. But I think the trailers didn't do the movie that much justice when it came to a lot of that stuff. I felt like she was...
They kind of advertised the movie that we didn't get.
Right. But it seems like that happens more and more with with the Disney conglomerate, because I think heavily back to Rogue One. Like, we saw whole scenes that never appeared in the movie, and we were like, I'm in the movie like, well, what's up with that? Like, that was they were running on the beach and she had the things, and they were shooting at them all, and that never happened. And
then there was a scene in that trailer where she's going out to the there's like a platform towards the end of the movie where she has to go out and like throw the thing to send the thing that's going to bring the thing. And in the trailer, there's a TIE fighter that comes up.
Right, and that never happens either. Yep.
Yeah, and then they were like people were like, hey, why is it that TIE fighter? What happened to the TIE fighter scene? And they're like, like it comes out later that was just like test footage for the animation department to just like it was test footage. Like they were just doing designs to see what looked cool and stuff. Like they put it in the trailer.
Yeah, I think that was just a cover up because they rewrote and reshot half the movie. The ending part of the movie. So yeah, I think that was in the original cut that got redone, and that was one way to kind of air quotes cover it up.
Maybe one of these days, the story behind that movie will get told.
Right. But the director played ball, so I think that's what made it. Where we have the behind the scenes of Solo will be interesting more so than that, because end of the day the director didn't have a problem with the changes being made. He played ball, went along with it, and it's out of the Disney Star Wars movies, that tends to be the one I go back to the most as my favorite.
So a Star Wars story. The story behind the shooting of The Force Awakens is heavily shrouded in secrecy, because I don't know that we will ever get I guess we will at some point. But these stories always come out in some shape, form, or fashion, like in an interview where somebody will write a book or do a documentary about it at some point. It always happens. But I mean, I think it's pretty much known at this point that was a very different movie from script all the way up to shooting, and it changed in the editing room. Like there are reports that, like even in the storyboards and in the script, like when Rey comes upon Luke Skywalker at the end of the movie, in the script and like when they shot it, he's like floating rocks around the island with the Force. Like the Force is just all over the island. And at some point in the third hour, they're like, Luke doesn't use the Force anymore. Like drastic changes to everything.
Yeah. Okay. Then that makes sense, because they said that Rian Johnson, while the movie was still being filmed, had already wrote or was almost finished writing the Last Jedi. So probably based on, they might have made changes, because they said they changed the whole thing at the end on who was on the island. As far as it was, I think originally it was R2-D2 or something like that, and they switched BB-8 out, or vice versa, or something like that, because of notes that Rian Johnson had given. They made that little swap to make that transition between the two movies and stuff. So I think he was pretty far along, if not finished, with a draft of The Last Jedi. So it would make sense that little concessions was made. And I think even Rian Johnson shot that last scene, if I'm not mistaken, on The Force Awakens. He directed that last little tidbit when she gets to the island and goes up to him. I remember hearing that at some point. I remember him, maybe it was in the special features for The Last Jedi. I think he mentioned it. They had a whole documentary about it, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he shot that.
Very interesting.
Crazy.
But anyway.
Yeah, but anyway.
So Luke is a Skrull, is what we're trying to say. Yeah,
so now, with what we got coming out of Captain Marvel, especially with the twist about what we know from the comics about Skrulls and what we saw in the movie, I'm going to just lay out, I did some research, because I always do research on stuff, or I try to anyway. Here's what we know that we have coming out after Endgame and Far From Home, because those two we already know that are coming out this summer. What they have in the works or half announced. They haven't done the big announcement saying here's all the movies and of this phase, or they say they're not doing phases anymore, or what have you. But we do know that they have a director and a script, a writer for Black Widow. And that expected or release date, because they announced release dates. They've made these small separate announcements, and he just made another announcement yesterday. So here's what we know that's coming in the future. It's in rough dates. These are rough dates that are thrown out that people are, been trying to line up with these particular projects, or they're saying that are tentative date for these projects. We have Black Widow, the Black Panther sequel, a Doctor Strange sequel, The Eternals, and Shang-Chi, which yesterday they just announced the writer. So what we know about Black Widow is being directed by Kate Shortland, and it's being written by Jack Schaefer, and its release date is supposed to be May 1st of 2020, roughly, is what they're saying. The Black Panther sequel is going to be written and directed by Ryan Coogler, and the release date is supposed to be February 12th, 2021. We've heard that Scott Derrickson is coming back to direct the Doctor Strange sequel. They haven't announced the writer as of yet, but I thought he wrote or co-wrote the first one, but they haven't made an announcement on the writer situation on that, and that's supposed to be slated for May 7th, 2021. The Eternals we have being directed by Chloe Zhao, and it's written by Matthew and Ryan Firpo, and that's supposed to be released November 6th of 2021. And then we have Shang-Chi that they just announced yesterday. They just announced the director yesterday. They already had a writer attached. The director is Destin Daniel Creighton, and the writer is Dave Collum, and that's set to come out February 18th, 2022. So that's what we know specifically as far as the future of the MCU of these mini announcements. Because like I said, they threw out dates, and they threw out like a writer or director. The most definitive announcement was like the Black Panther sequel, because it was up in the air, and it was like, Ryan Coogler signed to direct and write, and here's the date. That was the most definitive one. Like the Black Widow stuff, it came out in bits and pieces, and all this other stuff kind of floated out. They haven't done like that big, like how they used to do it, the Comic-Con or what are they called? There's the Disney shows, the D21, D22 or whatever. Those shows where they would roll out a whole, like, here's the next blah movies. They've been doing these smaller, kind of quieter announcements. So what do you think about those movies that we know on some shape, form, or fashion that are coming in the future?
I think that sounds cool. And it seems like they're going back to focus on more singular character-driven movies, because what you don't hear is like a fourth Avengers movie in there, or I guess it'd be a fifth Avengers movie, right? Yeah, it'd be a fifth one, or there's no team up movies in there. There's nothing announced that's going to be like groups. No Defenders kind of a thing or anything like that. So that tells me, I think Captain Marvel is a indicator of where we're headed back, like where we're headed moving forward, which is kind of going back, because I think that, I don't know, it kind of sounds like a reset to me. Not a reboot, but a reset.
Yeah, and I think that's what, I saw Feige do an interview maybe like a week or so ago. It was on, I saw it on YouTube. It was with, he was doing it with Rotten Tomatoes. And, he's talked about it for a while. He said, it's going to be no more phases. He was like, coming out of Endgame, it's going to be a whole new world. And he had pretty much been indicating like you said, it's going to be a reset, not a reboot, but a reset. And it was going to be a whole new different world and universe, and the things that they were going to be open to explore. Like, I never necessarily thought we would get a Eternals movie, but we do know that Thanos is an Eternal. Is an Eternal or isn't he an Eternal?
Aren't the Eternals
the Celestials? But don't they cross over with the Eternals in there? If they start opening up that door anyway, I'm trying to make sure because I'm not super versed in the Marvel cosmic. I've read Eternals here and there over the years.
I'm getting the Eternals and the Celestials confused because one of them is like a race of godlike creatures. Right? He's a Titan.
Yeah. Because they mentioned it, and I'm trying to remember from Infinity War. They were bringing it up, and I know it like ties into the Celestials, and I thought maybe the Eternals, but I'm getting it all mixed up. But because I've read too much too, but I think he's tied into it. And I think that's where they're kind of spinning off the idea to do an Eternals movie. And
here's from the Wikipedia page of the Eternals, just so we have all.
Yeah.
The Eternals are a fictional species of humanity appearing in the American comic books published by Marvel. They're described as an offshoot of the evolutionary process that created sentient life on Earth. The original instigators of this process, the Celestials, intended the Eternals to be the defenders of the Earth, which leads to the inevitability of war against their destructive counterparts, the Deviants. They were created by Jack Kirby in the Eternals #1, July 1976. So, and then the Celestials are a group of fictional characters. The Celestials are like the gods of the Marvel universe, right? And then the Eternals are I don't think Thanos has anything to do. I don't know. Other people will determine this.
Right.
Listen, we're not here to talk about the Eternals.
Yeah, I thought some was mentioned about it, and it was some time.
I think you're right. No, I've heard that too. That it's going to somehow tie. I think they just explore. Basically, what they're doing is they're developing the cosmic.
Right, which is interesting because I know a lot of it hung on because before everything happened with James Gunn, he was supposed to spearhead the cosmic, and then we're going to go like full on. Like a lot of what was moving forward was going to be more cosmic based and less, Earth. Like he was supposed to be the architect of overseeing the development of the cosmic. So now with everything happening with him and taking him out of the equation, and we have no idea when or if Guardians 3, and he's still saying like they're going to use his script because it's a really good script, but some different directors that's in the MCU that are attached, like Taika came out and said he's not doing it because everybody thought, well, coming off of Thor Ragnarok, he would be a great choice, and he was like he's too close to James Gunn and he wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, even if he was asked. But he said they hadn't asked him yet, but he put it out there real early that he wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So they would have to find someone new to do it, and I'm wondering with all this fallout, maybe changes were made to Endgame to accommodate that, and maybe we'll see this Eternals movie and maybe a potential Captain Marvel, because that start dipping into to more cosmic and space stuff. Maybe they'll be used as vessels to kind of further the cosmic universe at this point instead of a Guardian sequel. But it would be a shame not to finally see that movie. But it would be a shame not to see James Gunn complete his trilogy at the same time. But things happen, and that doesn't look likely at this point.
No, I don't think that's happening. I don't think he's.
Not at this.
It's a shame. It is a shame. It's just. That's a whole separate conversation, but it is unfortunate.
Yeah, so I feel like they're gonna have to find the right person to do that, because that was slated to come out this summer, I thought, or next summer originally. Maybe it was this summer it was supposed to come out. I can't remember when it was originally slated, and then they took that date off the calendar at this point, and the whole movie got kind of tossed to the side at this point. So that's still a kind of floater that's out there that we might get sometime in the future. When do you think with these dates, we have pretty much stuff spaced out between now and 2022. Do you think between now and then, or it'll be later, maybe 2022, because they haven't announced anything yet about maybe a Captain Marvel sequel, and they probably wait since we're so close to Endgame. I think maybe, what are your thoughts about coming out of Endgame? Do you think, because if it's a reset, how being you both are speculating, do you think it'll be like an end credit scene to set something up, or is it going to be just kind of like they're going to leave us with a cliffhanger to be like, you're going to have to wait to see when the next movie comes out, like what's next? Or maybe because they said, officially, Far From Home is supposed to be the first movie of the what's next after Endgame. So, do you think we might start getting an inkling of what's going on during that movie, and they might leave it like drop the mic cliffhanger kind of deal at the end of Endgame to kind of have us keep us on the edge of our seats?
That's an interesting question. I don't know, but I can tell you what I would do if it were up to me. Is I would end Avengers Endgame on a note of finality. I would close the book. I would not have a post-credits tease. I would not end the movie on a cliffhanger or like, someone like the X-Men walk into the frame or something. Like, I would not do any of that. I would have the Avengers Endgame be the end of what we've been seeing for the last 10 plus years. And then that would allow what's coming next to not have the pressure of trying to follow that and to be able to live and breathe on its own.
I think I agree with you on that totally. I think that would be a good way to do it. Then we know the book is like closed, and then that's a good marketing opportunity for them because then they can do some crazy huge box set of the DVDs or Blu-rays and be like, the 10-year saga or whatever crazy thing they would name it, and everybody would go out and buy it.
Because here's the thing, we know for a fact, I'm pretty sure we know for a fact, most of these actors, this is the end for them. Chris Evans, I think Chris Hemsworth has said he'd be willing to come back for maybe one or two more or something like that. But like Robert Downey Jr., as far as I know, most of their contracts are up and they've expressed no desire to ever revisit these characters again. They have like private islands now that they live on. And I think that this is the end of the Avengers for now. I would also, while we're doing this episode, I would like to do some story speculation because I really do. I think that Avengers Endgame will be the end of the Avengers. Not necessarily like, they're all dead or something like that, but I just think that there was always a plan in the beginning, maybe a loose plan, but I think that Marvel, the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, phases, I think that there was a clear trajectory. And I think this is the end of that trajectory. And if you're losing all of these actors, you've got to – what I think they're going to do is say, okay, that was that. The Avengers are no more, but we have all these other characters to play with. And that's what we're seeing, these announcements, Black Panther, we have Falcon, we have all these Captain Marvel, they have all these powerful, all these cool characters that can and do sustain their own movies. And I think that they will start building again. I think if they're not necessarily doing it in another phase, but if they close the book on the Avengers, and we're not building to, that's not sustainable to continue to just have like that's one of the things that I think has disappointed people about Captain Marvel is it's not an Avengers movie. It doesn't have like 35 Marvel heroes in it, and it didn't have a huge. It was $150 movie, $150 million movie, which is not small, but by Marvel movie standards, that's on the lower end of the spectrum compared to where things have gotten. So I think that Avengers Endgame is going to put the toys away for a while and give us these other characters to care about, and then over the next 10 years, they will build towards their own climax, and we'll just do these rises and these falls, these waves of story. I don't think we're going to see a Secret Invasion. I don't think. I think that's it. I think Avengers Endgame is the end of the Avengers for now.
Okay, I can see that.
You don't agree at all, do you?
Well, what I put in my notes, because I was like speculated movies. I was like, speculated a Captain Marvel sequel, and it would be interesting to see where they go. Where they go the Wonder Woman route, and because it was a prequel and she left off, do we get to see what she did when she went off? And like, we see a full on I don't necessarily know if they could do a Kree Skrull war, but because that was indicated that kind of happened in Captain Marvel to some extent. It was, that it was touched on it had been a great war or what have you. Or do we see like Captain Marvel versus the Kree and see all that fallout and see what happened? Or do we get some of that, her filling those blanks during Endgame, which I think we probably will get some of that in Endgame, and I put here the New Avengers. I just feel like they because if they're in the same world, they have a whole complex. We know going forward, Nick Fury is still around because we saw him in the trailers for Far From Home. So those facilities and all that would still be there. So I would feel like you kind of even if the main core Avengers are gone in some shape form, which not really because we know it's going to be a Black Widow movie, so we know like she's going to be around going forward. Which I wouldn't necessarily hate it if they had a new Avengers team where it was kind of like, and Black Panther is kind of because he's worked with them enough at this point. I could see a loose team at this point of Black Widow, Spider-Man, Black Panther, those three. Maybe if you had some crossover, maybe because Black Widow was a spy or something, we might have some crossover into Shang-Chi, and maybe like he might be a part or some part of it. Doctor Strange has already interacted with him. That you can have some loose, basis, which he was a member of the New Avengers in the Bendis run, so those things kind of tie in some. So I put that. I don't have anything based on it. I think I kind of feel like they are doing something similar to what you're mentioning. I don't know because it's such a big franchise, and just like you said, coming out of Endgame, when you were talking about Endgame, is that I think people are expecting that build up because they set the precedence in that now. So they would have to build to some kind of, but they would build up similar like they did with the Avengers. They have a series of individual movies. It's also a rumor. They rumored that the females came and they want a female led team movie as well. So, I don't know if Black Widow might be used. It might set some of that stuff up as well. So it's a lot of different directions that they can go in that way. That would be interesting. But I do agree we're not going to get it right away. It's going to be, I think right. I feel like if we get a new event, that the new Avengers would not be to 2024, 2025. They're going to roll this wave out and, like you said, build back up and let these characters kind of breathe. And I feel like, with the Eternals, we're going to get we're going to get some other, be it maybe finally Guardians 3 or some other, maybe the Captain Marvel sequel. We're going to have to get another cosmic movie because I think that's going to, play a part more so. I think now they're confident enough in the cosmic that they want to go full bore because Eternal, of all the characters that I would pick, I wouldn't necessarily pick the Eternals to go cosmic with, but they're doing it. So that means they're and they said it's supposed to be this epic century spanning movie talking about the different periods and dive deeply into their history. So I think, but I don't know what that will be. Will it be Captain Marvel? Will it be a Guardians, or will it be a whole nother cosmic movie, like maybe a Nova or something along those ways? Because I know that James Gunn wanted to use Nova from the first movie on, and they kept shutting him down, and it had to be for a reason. He wanted to put him in the first movie. It was rumors that I think Nathan Fillion was supposed to play him or something, and he wanted to do him in the second movie, and they were like, no. So they have plans for Nova at some point, that's for sure. So it would be interesting to see where it goes, but I think cosmic going forward will play a bigger part in the MCU going forward.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I do think that there will eventually be a new Avengers, but I think again, years away beyond what they've already announced. 2025 at the earliest.
Yeah, I would say I think they're gonna, like you said, let that breathe for a while. We know those facilities, those things, Fury, all those kind of things are still around. And, outside of Captain Marvel, I didn't realize that Samuel Jackson is 70 years old.
Yeah.
So, I think his brief cameos, his biggest roles were in Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Captain Marvel, pretty much at this point. And maybe, I guess you could say the first Avengers movie. Most of his other stuff is restricted to cameos. I think... I think in Endgame, something to the effect is going to happen to Tony, and I feel like maybe he's not going to die because they've done a lot of weird, crazy stuff with him in the comics in the past, like so many years. And I know like what was it, Civil War II? I read like he was in a coma and like he had uploaded his consciousness, so he was kind of like the new Jarvis. And I feel like that's a role they could kind of put him in, that he could still be around in spirit, so to speak, and then he wouldn't have to do any major filming. He would just do the voice parts. You know what I mean? Where you can have him around in as a sentient being type situation. What do you think about that? Like he'll be, because I think he brings so much to the franchises that they would have to at least kind of keep him around in some capacity.
I think he's done.
You think he's totally done?
I think he's done. They can't afford him anymore. I mean, I guess they can afford him. I do.
Well, if they just do the voice situation, I think
he's still going to want a brinked truck of money backed up to his door. He's going to be like, that still work. And look at how much. It's not even about that. It's like, look how much money I'm making for you with my voice. I want a percentage of that. What did he make for his Spider-Man Homecoming appearance? It was like he's making money hand over fist on this stuff. Look, it may happen. I don't think so. I think, and I don't think Marvel's interested. It's Disney. I say Marvel. I don't think Disney's interested in that anyway. I think that they're interested in going back to smaller, more affordable movies with new characters that they can then build to be the next Robert Downey Jr., the next Chris Evans. I think the whole thing. That's why I say I think Avengers Endgame. That's it for these characters. I don't know that they're going to die, but as far as them sticking around in the Marvel universe, I don't think that they will. I think that they're going to write them out somehow and give them good exits. Close the door on that. Maybe they'll all just go into private life or something like that. I don't know, but I do not. And I'm not an expert on any of this, but I just do not think that any of these actors are. See, I'm not even looking at it from a story perspective. I'm looking at it from a Hollywood budget and structure perspective. And I don't think that any of these actors are attainable anymore, because once you put them in a movie, you've automatically lost $25 million of your budget. And when we're talking about Captain Marvel that has a $150 million budget, who knows how much of that went to Samuel L. Jackson? I just can't imagine them keeping some of these big guns around. And I don't know that they want to. Like Chris Evans has said that he's done.
Well, then he backtracked, and I don't know if he just backtracked because they didn't want to give away or think to give away like he might die in the movie and that be.
I think he got in trouble. That's what happened. Yeah. I think they're like, "Hey, man, you got a movie coming out. Keep your mouth shut."
Yeah, it was funny. I was watching a video on YouTube, and they were talking about all like the Easter eggs in Captain Marvel. Like it was like 50 some of them. And the security guard in Captain Marvel, his name is Barry, and they were like, the guy that does the security for all the movies is named as Barry. And they were showing the clip where Mark Ruffalo ruined Infinity War, where he did the interview and he was like, yeah, he's like, this one's sad. He's like, oh, everybody dies at the end. He's like, just wait and see. And he was like, oh, shoot. He's like, am I in trouble? Is Barry going to get me? And they replayed that, and I was like, so they said they think that's a play on Barry, the security guy that does all the security on the movies, and they had used him a reference to him at some other point in one of the other movies. I can't remember which one it was, but it was so funny. I was like, oh wow, that's kind of neat that he let that slip. So yeah, it could have been a situation where like he kind of. Through frustration or what have you, let it slip. I wouldn't be surprised because, yeah, they've asked because they were on really low contracts when they signed those contracts. And, yeah, now they're renegotiating after pretty much every movie now. And, deservedly so. I think Chris Evans would do another couple because his movie career hadn't gone so great with him starring in movies outside of the MCU movies. I feel like Ragnarok really... he's been on the upswing as of late because he's found that comedy niche for him. So I think a lot depends on this summer and Men in Black International.
Hemsworth?
Yeah, Hemsworth. On how, maybe him going forward. Chris Evans, I feel like he can go back and forth, but he dedicates himself so much, like, body-wise, and, like, he's so freaking shredded in those movies, and that has to be a lot. I know Hugh Jackman talked about it a lot, like, the just the torture of like the diets you have to go on and the workouts, and like as you get older, it's like that's not as like fun anymore. But I love
you can't. Like,
yeah, you can't maintain that year over year, year after year. That's a lot, and I feel like I think more so than anyone, I would miss Chris Evans more, which is funny. I always kind of dug Cap, but I love him as that character. I mean, I think I'll get over it, and we didn't even talk about this, and we're not gonna go super long. We're trying to keep these episodes a little bit shorter, so I just do want to talk about this briefly. With all the announcements made for Disney Plus, we know it's going to be a Loki show, that all these things tie back into the MCU. So it's going to be a Loki show. It's going to be Vision, Scarlet the Witch show. It's going to be a Bucky and Falcon show. And then they announced this past week, I don't know if you heard about this one, the What If, but it's MCU What If. And the whole plan behind this is that it's going to be, even though it's a What If series, it's based on the MCU, so it ties back in. And they're going to actually try to shoot to get the actors to reprise the voices of the characters because it's going to be totally animated. It's not going to be live action, but it's going to be animated. And they want the actors to come back to reprise their voices as the characters for this animated series.
That's interesting. I didn't know about the actors doing the voices.
That's what they want to do. They said that's what they want to try to do. It's not set in stone, so it might not go that route, but that's what they want to do with it. And it's time.
I'll tell you this: the internet. I was doing some research while you were talking about that. Mm-hmm. Robert Downey Jr. reportedly got $15 million for his appearance in Spider-Man: Homecoming, which was like a cameo. He got $15 million for that. So. Maybe it's possible to have him do a voice, but I just think that the idea of moving forward is like strip it back to basics and go back to not smaller budgets, but more maintained, like budgets that aren't $250 million and movies that have like every actor from the Marvel universe. I think that
because that's daunting.
Rebooting it, like what Phase 1 of Marvel was these character stories that like Captain Marvel was a character movie. Or it wants to be a character.
It wasn't that much. Now we both agreed on that. It wasn't much of a character movie. No. It was like I referenced. I feel like people will look back at that movie more fondly once more future stuff comes out. I feel like it was just tasked with setting up too much future stuff that we don't know that we're gonna get yet. Similar to Age of Ultron. Like when I went back and looked at Age of Ultron, when I did my top 50 favorite movies, it was insane how much stuff they set up and that we saw, that all those movies that came out. And it was like, wow, like that was a lot for one movie to carry on top of trying to tell a good Avengers story to boot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's my favorite of the Avengers movies too.
Oh,
that
really?
Felt good when you said that the other day.
Yeah. And I was like,
there's a lot in that movie. It's like, yeah, there is. It's a great movie. It balances a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I'm stoked to see where they go in the future. I think we're in a good place. That's to kind of like start winding this down to close it out. We did a lot of these talks, and the reason why we even came up with this episode, we talked a lot heavily about DC films in the direction like they had been going, and we hadn't talked about Marvel, so we thought this might be a good vehicle coming off of a release of a big movie like Captain Marvel, but right before Endgame, and we probably will revisit this conversation after Endgame bbecause certain things will be answered for us, we hope, coming out of that situation. But I feel like both companies are in a good place. Coming out of Aquaman, the stuff that I'm seeing for Shazam, even, I'm in a more positive light for even DC films. I mean, they still have announced a ton of stuff, and we do know that the Birds of Prey Emancipation of Harley Quinn, I think that's the whole name, that that's filming now to come out next year. We got Joker to come out. It's all the pre-screening responses. The embargo doesn't lift till next week or week after for Shazam, but everybody's been that's seen the movie have been raving about it. on like it seems like DC Films is kind of finding their way finally. So I think they're in a good place. They're finally getting to a good place. And then I feel like Marvel, some people feel like Miss Marvel's a misstep. I feel like it's saddled with setting up post Endgame, and positioning her for her role, whatever it may be in Endgame. That they're in a good place, and they clearly know. We know Marvel plans out, and they know where they're going. We just don't know yet, and that's a weird thing because, like you said before, it was always major announcements. So we knew Phase 1 was this, Phase 2 was this, and they're leaving us they're keeping it close to their vest, which I kind of think is cool. So we have to wait and see as one comes out and we see the next. What's coming next? Making it must.
That's how it should be,
right? Because the internet ruins so much certain times. Like I said, I didn't try to, but I saw the new Avengers trailer yesterday. I don't know if you had a chance to see it.
No, I haven't watched it yet. I was saving it to watch with my wife.
Okay. Are you going to do like a reaction video to it?
No.
I know that's like the biggest thing. Like I almost buckled down and broke down and did a reaction video once and be like, everybody else is doing it. All the other cool kids are doing it. And my wife was like, if they jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? That's just not you. And I'm like, you're right. So I was like, if I do it, I felt like it's totally against everything I kind of do. So it's
everything that's wrong with YouTube, in my opinion.
That's all my feed is just like flooded with reactions on that trailer, and I was just like, I enjoyed it. I kind of necessarily didn't need to see it because I'm sold on a movie, but we got it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I watch.
That's kind of how I feel. Like I will watch it. I don't feel any urgency to watch it.
Right. I was just like fiddling around. And I was like, how you fiddle around on YouTube? Because I watch more YouTube now than I watch TV. So I was like, something new to watch on YouTube. And I clicked, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have clicked on that, but I liked it.
Did it spoil anything for you?
No, I don't think it spoiled anything. I just think it just revealed a little bit more, especially after Captain Marvel. They kind of unveiled, that. I
figured that's what they were waiting on.
Right. And it was like a really cute thing at the end of the trailer with her and Thor that I just loved. I just want to rewatch it again just for that part. But I just love Chris Hemsworth as Thor. And that interaction was just hilarious to me. It really solidified this is gonna be epic, type deal. But we already kind of got that feel to it all. So I'm happy about it. And it's not too much longer for the movie, a month and a half ish at this point. So we'll definitely be talking about that in the future. Now, let me ask you this before we close this out too, because there's so many movies coming out. I was plotting this whole thing out since I tend to do all these reviews, and I kind of got to plan out better because I do a spoiler and non-spoiler. I do an audio and a video, so I try to plan all this stuff out, and I do stuff centered around the content. What other movies are you looking to see? Because I know certain movies you just wait till they kind of come out on home video. So what summer movies, comic movies anyway, that you're looking to go out to the theater to see, that people can look forward for you and Bree to review on Serial at Midnight this summer?
I'm sure we'll talk about Avengers Endgame, and I'm sure that we'll talk about Spider-Man Far From Home. Outside of that, I can't think of anything that I feel any urgency to either watch or to talk about.
No Hellboy, no Avengers, no X-Men Dark Phoenix?
I think X-Men Dark Phoenix looks really bad. Let's be honest, I have zero excitement for that movie.
Yeah,
if it surprises me, that's fine. But one thing that burns me is you get excited about these things. Here's the thing: I don't get excited about these movies anymore, ever. And I'm just being real. I go see them, and if they're good, I'm like, oh, well, I'm glad that was good. But I invest nothing in it anymore because I just have learned that's not a good idea to do. If I go see them and they're like Spider-Man Homecoming, I loved Spider-Man Homecoming, but I didn't go in being like, man, I hope I love Spider-Man Homecoming. I went in with no investment, and I just allowed the movie to, with Captain Marvel, we planned to go see it. We're like, yeah, we're going to go see it. Hopefully it'll be good. And we fairly enjoyed Captain Marvel, but when it comes to something like this X-Men Dark Phoenix movie, it looks bad. And then all the reports, I mean, it's been pushed back like
2-3
months.
times at this point, something like that.
Yeah.
It's been rescheduled, pushed back a lot.
And that's not the signs of a movie that's good. That's a sign of a movie that you probably want to avoid. So I don't know. I'm torn because I am a lifelong comics fan, but at the same time, like I'm getting a lot of these movies aren't doing anything for me anymore. So yeah, like Hellboy, I'll watch Hellboy when it comes out on Blu-ray. I'm not going to go to the movie theater to see that.
Okay, we feel the same way. We feel the same way about that movie because
we've also talked about it, like you and me, and then like on Facebook and stuff. It's like I don't like going to the movie theater anymore. It's a terrible experience. Going to see Captain Marvel, terrible experience. The screen is dim. The projectors are never bright enough. Our screens have like stuff on them, like they're old and they've got like burned in imagery and stuff on them. It's a better experience to stay home and watch it on my television. And so, like, I'm going to go pay $30 for my wife and I to go watch a movie and it not be a good presentation. Nah. If I can stay home, like, unless I feel like I have to see it, I'm just going to stay home and watch it when it comes out on Blu-ray or whatever.
That's going to have to be a whole nother episode, like the whole movie versus that's one we definitely have to do. Movie going versus I talked about it in I think a podcast episode like a year ago, but just hearing you say that, and we have especially on the Comic Book Savant Facebook group, we talked about it a while back when I first was doing that episode. I kind of talked to you guys about what some of your experiences were, and we heard that a lot across the board. And I know with other friends of mine have heard that echoed a lot, and we definitely need to dig that. That's a whole nother topic in itself.
That's a Spinner Rack Bros video
episode. Yeah, that's exactly what that's perfect for. But yeah, I agree with you about Hellboy. I will, for me it's a little bit different because I thought about it. I was like, it's funny. I was like, I've podcasted for so long. I was like, I have legit have now reviewed every MCU movie on the podcast at this point. So I just kind of at this point I feel obligated to do it.
And now.
Yeah, it's like I'm in all the way now. It's like it's been 21 movies. I've reviewed them all, so might as well just keep going. Now the Hellboy thing, not so keen on. The trailers haven't done anything for me. I've never read a Hellboy comic ever. I saw the first two, I think, both at the movie theater, and I own them both. Yeah. But my problem. I've talked about it. I got a problem. I'm trying to buy like every comic book movie ever. If you're not a member of the Patreon, go to our Patreons. I do a comic book haul episode every month, and you will know I've been obsessively buying bad comic book movies left and right as of late because they've been on sale, and I've been
blaming it on me for some reason.
Yeah. You started me down a rabbit hole with the whole Fantastic Four thing, and I've been going ever since, man. I'm trying to tell you, it's getting bad. And they keep throwing them online for like $5. And so every time I see them, it's like on iTunes. I just click. I gotta get it. It's a comic book movie. Yeah, my collection's getting real stupid right now with bad comic book movies. But I agree. Like, I don't think Dark Phoenix is going to be good. They fumbled so badly. Apocalypse. So I have like no faith at this point. But I feel like, again, I've pretty much reviewed all of those, so it's kind of like, work. Like, even the build up, like I said, I wasn't too hype about Aquaman till I saw it, and I thought it was fun. It's Captain Marvel. I had no expectations going in. I wasn't like chomping at the bit to see it. And it's kind of like work. It's like a cycle for me because it's the build up for it because I know I have to review it, so I have to go see it. So that's the whole thing. I try to go in unbiased now, unhampered, so I can give the best, honest review to people. And then, like, when I do the content for it, like, I did the video, I did, the audio, and then I started doing these recommended read episodes. So people, if they're interested in the character, they can then go pick up stuff on the character. But like, I'm so relieved when it's done. I can't linger with the movie because now there's so many more movies coming out. It's like, I got to put that to the side because I got a whole nother wave for like Shazam that I got to do. And then X-Men then Endgame and then X-Men, so it's like, I can't, it's like, it's a part of my work.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be, I've learned over the years now, like, it's like, I'm more relieved and it's over for me. Like, I won't revisit that movie. I don't have time to go back to the movies to see it if I really like it or not. Like, I won't see it till home video. And certain times, because I do so much content on it, I don't even want to watch it when it first. I'll buy it when it first comes out on home video, but I don't watch it. Like, I don't tend to watch it. Like, it's funny. I love Black Panther. I saw it in the movie theater. I haven't watched it since. My wife has watched it like 5-6 times. I haven't watched it since. But then, I spoke when I reviewed it. Like, I had a lot of personal stuff that hit me with that movie in relation to my relationship with my own father that passed away. That movie touches me in a way, and I don't want to feel that way a lot. You know what I mean? So it's a movie where I love it, but I leave it. So like with me, Captain Marvel, I dug it. I can't wait to when it comes out on home video, I'll get it and I'll rewatch it because I dug it. But it probably won't be right away. Like you said, and like Hellboy, if I'm a completionist and I have the other two now, so I have to buy it. It's like I'm debating.
I'll buy it too.
Yeah, I'm like
I'll buy it.
Me and you are the worst because like I heard so many bad things about the last Predator movie, but in the build up for that movie coming out, I'm a huge Predator fan, and I love the first movie. I've never seen the second one, but
well then you gotta watch the second.
I bought it recently. But I haven't watched it yet. I need to. I dug Predators when that came out, and I own that. So like I filled in the blank of getting those movies. So and it's on sale right now for like $10, and I'm still like I don't know if because people said it was so bad, but it's like I own all the other ones, so I keep my eyes twitching. Like, click it, just click it. You gotta get it. You gotta complete the set. Click it, click it. And I was like, I got to fight myself because I'm my own worst enemy. But I digress. But
so I'm just gonna say this. Though we're sitting here doing a podcast, we both have YouTube channels, and we both have. We're doing a podcast right now about this stuff. I would say, like, maybe don't pay so much attention to what people think, and just follow what you think. If you want to check out if you want to check out The Predator, check it out and just see what you think. There's so many opinions out there, and everybody's talking so loud. Sometimes you just gotta go with your gut. And if you're into Predator, you're probably into it. No, I haven't seen it, but I'm just saying, if you're into
my gut says it's a horrible movie, but
What'd you say?
As my gut is telling me it's a horrible movie. The trailers just look bad for it. Like, it didn't look good. You know what I mean? But it's like, eventually, I can't help myself.
There's probably something worth watching in it. If it's got a few cool Predator kills. But don't you hate horror? Aren't you like, that's right. Totally a horror movie.
Well, it's more sci-fi thriller, I always felt.
That's bull crap. It's a sci-fi horror movie.
I don't know, but it's like the thing about but I can bear those more because I guess they're more action based. But like the Alien movies, because I'm a sci-fi head, like I'm scared to death, and most of the time my hand is over my face when I watch them. But I can't help it. So because I love the story kind of surrounding it. So like the Alien movie, like Aliens, is like one of my favorite action sci-fi movies like of all time.
Yeah.
And I've watched them. I don't own them though. I don't own them all. I think I do own Prometheus. But I haven't seen Alien Covenant.
I haven't seen that one either. I gave up after.
Yeah, it was kind of like but
diminishing returns at this point. I'm like, no, the first two were really good, and then they kind of just
fell off the cliff after that. I watched them. Again, my hand over my face, but I watched them, and so it's one of those things where I'll hear people like break down the movie so I can keep up with the story of it, and I have to watch it because I'm a wuss when it comes to the horror movies, and I feel like Predator's not horror; it's more action. I feel like Alien is horror, and I really like. It's the wussiest thing ever. Like, I will watch a whole review and people talk about the movie in depth and will never watch it, or I'll watch it and then I know what's going on. So when I cover up my face, I don't miss anything. I know how they died. I just don't got to see it. Yeah, that's it.
It's just, you're probably making it worse for yourself.
I do, but
it never lives up to what you were imagining.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a little Alfred Hitchcock thing. Is he would let you play it out in the theater of your mind instead of showing it to you. It was always worse in your mind.
True, that's true.
I don't know. That being said, the Predator movies have some pretty gruesome kills.
But I always
listening to it. It's like
right.
Crunching.
Yeah, so I'll probably get the Predator at some point because I just want to. I'm a completionist and I gotta have it, But that's the
I
main.
went on a rant there, man. Here, let's do this.
Okay.
It's like a rant against current movies. So ask me again if I have anything that Brie and I are going to be talking about on the YouTube.
Okay, what are some of the things that you and Brie are going to be talking about on future episodes or installments of Serial at Midnight?
I don't know, man. I think we'll probably just take it one day at a time.
But you know what? I feel like that's the best approach. I love you two guys review. I wish I could get Marty on the podcast, or as everyone else knows, aka Miss Savant, on a podcast or on a YouTube video, but she's not having it at this point. So, but I think it's so cool you guys share that and do that together. That's kind of because I never go to the movies by myself. She always is with the movie, and some of the points that I bring up in my reviews are her points that she brought to me. And I'm like, oh, I see that. That's a good point. And I'll make sure I verbalize it in my reviews. But she just doesn't want to get on the mic or in front of the camera. So, you know, I respect that.
Brie didn't want to for the longest time. And then finally one day she was like, yeah, okay. And then I think it wasn't as bad as she thought it was going to be. And I think she actually enjoyed it. So,
yeah, so
hey,
maybe
you know what we didn't talk about? This is important. That we should probably talk about this.
Okay.
Real quick. The Fox purchase by Disney could be a game changer for all of this.
True.
Because like we were talking about the Dark Phoenix movie, that's it, right? Because that's the last Fox X-Men.
The New Mutants movie is still out there, and it's rumors if it's going to have a theatrical release or be released on maybe they'll dump it on Hulu since they own majority share in that. But yeah, we don't know if it's going to ever make the light of day because it's been shot. It's been I think it's been reshot.
Yeah. And
they kept pushing it back, and it's no real release date. But I think that's it. Dark Phoenix is that we know that we'll have a theatrical release. Is that the only other movie that has been shot that they could release potentially is the New Mutants.
So when we're talking about Eternals movie or some of that stuff going cosmic, we could very well be seeing characters like the Fantastic Four introduced in those movies.
True. Yeah, we did not touch on that, and that's a very big thing. And the one thing I thought that might be cool at the end of Endgame, when it goes black, and then it's at a post-credit scene, is you see the Silver Surfer. He comes out like a sonic boom, it's like, and you see him, and he's going full speed towards Earth, maybe, but he's in our galaxy, and maybe they pan out the space, it's dark, and then you start seeing the stars, and it's poof, he comes out, you just see him on the board, going full bore, and then they kind of pan the camera behind him, and then you see way in the distance, but then you might see Earth, and he's going really aggressive towards trying to reach Earth quickly.
Or they could just show Galactus eating a planet like an apple.
No. Let's show Silver Surfer. Because they got to really work on how they want to do a presentation of Galactus, especially after the purple
if
cloud.
we ever do get Galactus on the big screen, he needs to be wearing that big old purple helmet. He's straight out of Jack Kirby's design.
Yes, because that whole...
Thor Ragnarok proved that you can do those Kirby designs and it still translate. Loki's helmet and all that stuff, they can do it.
And I want Beta Ray Bill in this next phase, or whatever they're calling it. I don't want a statue as a little Easter egg in Ragnarok. I want Beta Ray Bill. I love him.
Max Bill. I do too.
So yeah, I want him in the future. He's out there. We know he's out there now because he was one of the champions on Sakaar. We saw when they were adding the Hulk's face that his face was engraved up there. So we know he exists in the MCU as of now.
So I think here's another thing. We just keep finding things to talk about. I think that so I'm on record. I think most of these actors that we've seen for the last 10 years are out. Even Scarlet Witch, or not Scarlet Witch, even Black Widow. I know there's a Black Widow movie coming. I don't think she's here for the long haul. I think Scarlett Johansson has other things that she wants to go do. She's in for maybe one or two more movies, I think. But I do think the idea of a legacy hero, that's something that they've been doing in the comics for probably about the last 10 years or so, since the aftermath of Civil War. Mm-hmm. Legacy heroes. And we got Bucky, we got Falcon, or, we have Sam. I guess we call him like the character's name. We have all these characters. We have Ant-Man. We have all these lower. We have these actors who aren't getting paid $25 million per movie, and I think they're in it for the long haul. So that's what I think we're probably building to. So if it's New Avengers or whatever it is, legacy heroes. Maybe the character of Captain America doesn't go away, but who's wearing it? Who's holding the shield? Maybe that changes. That's a thought. That's food for thought.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely. It's so much to dig into. And like I said, we'll revisit the topic post Endgame, and then we have some light shed on some of the things we're speculating on here, so we can pontificate. I'm using big words today. Further on what some of the things. I hope I use that right. What things are going to go in the future is going to be definitely interesting to see how it all shakes out and where we're going to go and what we're going to see in the future. It's so many different things. And that's why I like those TV shows, because they said the TV shows are going to tie back in to the movies and vice versa, because they have, they kind of have said they're like mini series, like 6 to 8 episode situations but they're going to have those actors. They're going to be tying into the bigger MCU, to kind of fill in the blanks in between movies and whatnot, or before movies and things of that nature. So we do know we're getting a Falcon Bucky, and it'll be interesting to see what's that going to be all about, because all this stuff is going to be post Endgame at this point. Yeah, so definitely it'll be interesting to see where all that stuff pans out. But is there any more thoughts or anything you want to say before we close it out? Because we did run a little longer than what we had anticipated. I'll be trying to get you out of here quickly.
I think we covered it. I'm sure as soon as we stop, I'll think of something else I wanted to talk about. But I think we covered it.
Yeah, and we'll revisit it. If you guys are unaware, just to throw that out, we try to do these once a month, but we alternate between doing audio podcasts on the Comic Book Savant podcast feed, and then we do a video episode for Heath's channel over at Serial at Midnight. So again, like, this is not officially our 8th podcast, but it's our 8th episode. Like, overall, I had to go back and count between, because we've done 2 videos for your channel now, and then we've done, this is 8, so like 6 podcasts at this point, because we came up with the concept of doing some video, and I'm waiting to upgrade some equipment, so then I'm supposed to be doing that soonish. So, but the next episode 9, will be a video episode on Serial at Midnight. It'll be sometime next month, and then so it alternates months. So if you have a month we don't do an episode here, don't worry about it. Just go over to youtube.com/Serial at Midnight. It's Serial Midnight or Serial at Midnight on YouTube? I always forget which one.
YouTube, it's Serial at Midnight.
Yeah, it is Serial at Midnight. Okay. So just do youtube.com/Serial at Midnight to get his YouTube channel. And if you don't know, all the links to his website and the YouTube channel are on. Just go to the links page on comicbooksavant.com. All the links are there. I will add the links to the episode as well. So if you go on the website to see the episode, I'll have links front and center there too, so you can find the content. So again, just so if you see we don't do episode a month, it's not that we haven't done it. Is you just have to look for it in the right place. But that's all I have on my side. Heath, tell them where they can find you on the beautiful internets.
SerialAtMidnight.com, YouTube. You already said that. Yeah, everything's at SerialAtMidnight.com.
What about the Twitter? Is it Twitter?
Social media, so it's Facebook.com/SerialMidnight, at Serial Midnight on Twitter. And I think I stole that from somebody. Twitter. And Instagram, I am Serial Midnight on Instagram. And yeah.
Cool deal.
We have fun. We celebrate movies and comics and everything else.
And he posts a lot more on Instagram than I do, so definitely follow him there. And you can find me
every day.
Yeah, I can. You'll find. I got to get better about that. But I feel like my life is boring, so I have nothing to post. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Comic Book Savant, all one word. And that's all we have for you guys for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Spinner Rack Bros. Say bye, Heath.
Bye, Heath. Okay, so James, at the end of Avengers to black. It's like the end. It actually says the end, and it fades to black. And then it fades back in. And it's Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, Spider-Man's there. It's all our favorite heroes. And on this planet, it's weird because it looks a little bit different. And then they hear this voice say, "Welcome to Battleworld. I'm the Beyonder." Boom.